Red Wings beat the Penguins, but blow the lead against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And previewing the Anaheim Ducks matchup tonight with Locked On Ducks host Jason Hernandez.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast.
Are we doing hands today?
Jazz hands.
Hello!
We're your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm on Twitter at BrianFisher971. He's on Twitter at Bentley Scotty. He's also host at Locked On Tigers. Want to thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms.
With the hands today, dog.
I'm burning through all these little things.
We're into it. Oh.
Review us on Spotify and on Apple. Write a review on Apple. Fingers.
YouTube.
YouTube subscriber count. Yeah.
Brian's wilding today. He's wilding.
No, it's going to be an exciting episode. So we're going to have to condense our recap because we did do a crossover for two segments. It was intended to be one. You're going to hear me introduce the segment as third segment. It was intended to be one, and then we got talking. We're like, there's no way this is going to be one segment. So it's two segments of crossover Locked On Ducks, Jason Hernandez. It was very exciting. Obviously, all the Calder Trophy talk dominated before we got to the actual preview. But first and foremost, Scotty, got to talk about this weekend we had. We were scared going in because of the behemoth of the back-to-back. Honestly, not too upset with how it turned out. I was a little, disappointed, obviously, with the blowing the lead against the Maple Leafs. But the win against the Pittsburgh Penguins was a welcome surprise, especially with Calvin Pickard in net.
Yeah, man. And we even talked. We were like, Ned's probably getting both of these games. And then game one.
Immediately wrong.
Pickard. And we're like, all right, let's see what's up. What a performance by Calvin Pickard.
Yes.
What a performance. He was phenomenal. Bro.
36 saves.
Deserves so much credit. And you know what? We talk all the time like we know what he is. And I even said in the preview on Friday, I was like, yeah, I think I'd probably just rather Ned played both games. Like, why not? Calvin, he was unbelievable. And he is a probably the biggest reason we were able to beat Pittsburgh. And
Absolutely.
there's no beating around the bush. No anything. He was fantastic. He was star one and deserves all the credit in the world.
Yeah, and that 100% agree. And this was a game too where your typical things that you normally happen didn't happen. You didn't get scoring from your top two lines. Your goal scorers in this game, the King, Giovanni Smith, and I don't want to,
Did you cry? I cried.
You cried. I cried when Philip Zadina scored because, I said Joe Veleno or Philip Zadina score a goal, Red Wings win the hockey game. Philip Zadina scored.
I got a text before the Maple Leafs game that Brian said if Veleno scored, he'd shave his head, which is
on pod,
which is, I mean,
not much.
That's obviously crazy. I mean, look at all of his head of hair. Like, that's a lot to.
I do. What's funny is I used to run my hands through my hair a lot when I had it, and I still muscle memory. I'll still run my hands through my bald ass head, like there's hair there, like I'm pushing my flow back, and there's just nothing there. I just feel stubble, and I'm like every time I'm like, how long am I going to be doing this for?
How long have you been rocking bald?
I think I fully embraced it when I was 22, so 4 years now.
I mean, that's still, like 22 years of being able to do that, and then 4 not. You know what I mean? Like,
really, was 18 years of being able to do that, 4 years of denial, then 4 years of acceptance.
You know what? Fair enough. Fair enough, brother. Fair enough.
But yeah, I think also, Calvin Pickard being the number one star is very much deserved. But the other biggest reason they won this hockey game, and we talk about it a lot later because we recorded it out of order, but Moritz Seider in this game. We talked about it with Jason Hernandez. Moritz Seider was an absolute monster in this game. And I'm going to say this without a shadow of the doubt. This was Moritz Seider's best performance of the year. Ice Hockey Gifts on Twitter posted a compilation of Moritz Seider just being a defensive wizard, calm with the puck, phenomenal stride. 40% of that compilation was him against Crosby. He threw Rust to the side to get to Crosby. In overtime, he got back on a Crosby breakaway to deflect the shot. Just Moritz Seider was playing out of his mind in this game. So if Calvin Pickard is the number one reason why we won this game, Moritz Seider is the number two reason.
Absolutely. He's incredible, man. He's so damn good. And I think I'm not saying that it's a I am kind of saying it's a direct correlation. I'm not saying that the correlation is this like exaggerated, and I'm not saying that this is the only reason that we looked so much better, but no DDK this weekend.
There is stats floating around about win-loss record with and without DDK in the lineup, and I won't quote it on air. Just Google it. I'm not saying that it's that substantial that that they looked that good, because we've seen games this year where we've played up to competition and DDK's been in the lineup. So I'm not saying that it's that dramatic, but it's also pretty impossible to ignore. Yeah, it is. So
especially again in Seider's case, being that that's usually his line mate.
Defensively, the Penguins game was a good one, like by their metrics, and obviously 99% of that was Moritz Seider playing the best game he has all season. But even without DDK in the lineup against the Maple Leafs, they still blew a 2-goal lead, ended up losing 7-4. Granted, 2 of those were empty net goals. So in that game, pulling Danny DeKeyser out of the lineup really didn't help the defense that much. That loss really stung on multiple fronts. First loss, the first game Toronto's played here in Detroit all season. LCA was sold out. It was packed, and the energy was insane. And the Red Wings got out to such a hot start with that Dylan Larkin goal 1 minute and 15 seconds in. Ned was back in net. It felt like everything was going the Detroit Red Wings way. And they honestly, there were moments where the Maple Leafs were overwhelming the Red Wings, but there were moments where the Red Wings were playing fantastic. It was a good game until like the last 5 minutes, where Toronto just potted goal after goal after goal. And then when Lucas Raymond shot that puck off the crossbar, followed shortly by the Robbie Fabry penalty, that just killed all momentum.
I thought it was in too, man.
I thought it was in too. I thought it went in and out.
Yeah, I thought he hit back in the net. I was so disappointed. And man,
it was a bummer.
It's so the frustrating. Are we just going to go into that game? Because like that was that. There's a lot of things that were frustrating about that. That sequence was obviously one. The fact that so many of the Leafs goals were just like BS, like stupid goals. The first goal of the game was nonsense. It was an accident. It was a total accident. Their third goal, it just slapped the stick in midair, and it just happened. Like two of those goals specifically were just like nonsensical BS.
Mm-hmm. Ned made a huge save in that game too.
Yeah. Oh, unbelievable save. So like
on Dominic Hasek's birthday, wearing Dominic Hasek's number.
I know.
Jeff
so like it was already frustrating that they were like still in it when we were clearly dominating them for 2 periods, and they were still in the game. That was already frustrating because of how those goals came to be. But I think by far the most frustrating part of the game was the coaching. And this is a conversation we're going to have to start having a lot more and more. The stupid, we're up, so we're going to park the bus nonsense has to stop.
Yeah, you can't play.
You're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, dog. You're not playing the Coyotes, which also, newsflash, it didn't work against them neither.
You have to keep your foot on the pedal at all times, or else you're going to keep losing hockey games.
You can't. It's so infuriating. You cannot do a park the bus in hockey. You can't. You can't just drop back and just do dump offs and then stay in your zone and just let the Toronto Maple Leafs just be in your zone the entire period, the entire third.
And like
you can't.
Nedeljkovic,
you have to have a counterattack. It doesn't have to be good. You don't have to be overly aggressive, but you have to push the puck. You cannot sit back and do that nonsense. And we did.
Yeah, and we've talked about it, but we talk about it later too. And Nedeljkovic again didn't have his best game. I mean, statistically wise, but it's always touch and go with goaltending on how to view it when a large factor of how they play is based on the team around them. And he's stood on his head multiple times this game. And just for transparency, his save percentage in this game was .857, which isn't like it's not good. But also he faced 35 shots against, and one of those goals was a power play goal. I mean, the team kind of collapsed around him, and he did everything he could. And obviously allowing 5 goals isn't acceptable, but it's also hard to make him shoulder all the blame when the team in front of him just was not performing. Like you said, they were playing not to lose, which usually causes you to lose. You just can't, especially against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like you were saying, you have to keep your foot on the pedal at all times, or you're going to end up losing the hockey game. And they did.
You have to have a counter threat, man. Yeah. You can't do it. It's impossible. You can't against any team. It's the freaking NHL. You can't do it. And like our third period play, I saw a stat flying around the Twitter sphere. I don't know the extent of its accuracy, and it was a couple of days ago now, but the Red Wings have given up the most third period goals in the NHL.
That tracks.
And are pretty high up there for the back part of the second period as well, but are then magically like very good at the beginning. You can't do that, man.
Yeah, you got to play all 60. That's what it comes down to.
You can't. You part of defense is having a counterattack offense. Defense is not just defense. Part of keeping the opponent off the score sheet is having a counterattack and having possession of the puck. What's the furthest away you can get from your own net on the ice? The opponent's freaking zone. It's not rocket science. It's
not.
just it's so infuriating that's a
lot of teams
a strategy we practice over and over and over again, and it like how many times until we learn our lesson, man?
Well, I think the problem is a lot of teams just try to overthink this strategy, and it like turns out like no, you want to win hockey games, you got to just score more goals. Score more goals than the opponent. Like, stop trying to, like, take your foot off the pedal and play some kind of, like, zone defense or something. I don't know, generic football term here. Just you gotta keep scoring goals to win hockey games, especially against opponents like Toronto. You can't sit on a 2-goal lead and expect Toronto not to score a couple goals. Like, lockdown defense, part of lockdown defense is playing an oppressive offense still.
Yes, and having a threat in the back of the opponent's mind that they can't just let the puck go into the neutral zone and get it back right away and then reset.
Yeah.
There was zero offense in the third, and that's why we ended up giving up, 7?
I think
8.
that if they want to produce more offense going forward, Scotty, they need to start eating Built Bars in between periods.
You got me on that one. That was nice. You even got me on that one.
I'm glad. I'm trying to get smoother with these.
He's slick with it.
Real slick. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than that candy bar.
Definitely better.
Built Bar makes it easy to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky, waxy, or taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it just gets so boring. By week 3, you're like, oh my God, this is just not worth it. Where is the chocolate? Well, let me tell you, Built Bars covered in 100% real
You're killing this, man.
chocolate. I'm hamming it up, man.
Go
Most
off,
Built
baby.
bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Dozens.
So ridiculous.
There's also tons of flavors to choose from. You got coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, which slaps. Like, all honesty, like, all jokes aside, guys, peanut butter brownie slaps. Like, that's my go-to.
It's a banger for sure.
Raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many, many more. In fact, Built is always coming out with new limited time flavors. So go to Built.com, see what's new. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. We spent the first 2 segments recapping the Toronto Maple Leafs and Pittsburgh Penguins game, but now let's bring in Jason Hernandez of Locked On Ducks for a quick 1-segment crossover. The word escaped me for a second there, but here we are. I got there. We already saw these 2 teams face off once. Trevor Zegras did pot a goal in that game. I believe it was an overtime win for the Ducks in that one.
Yep.
Head stood on his head. Now, the Ducks' turn to come to Detroit. Jason, we know what we're really going to be talking about here. It's not so much about the 2 teams playing, but the specific players on these 2 teams. So who is your rookie of the year, and why is it Moritz Seider?
Look, Mo's been good. He's been very good recently. I'm not going to deny that he's probly
You can
one
say
of the
great.
front runners.
You can say great.
He's
It's
been
okay.
great.
Maybe Norris
There you
Trophy
go.
candidate,
Yeah. You can say it.
But Zegras is right there too. You can't deny how good Trevor Zegras has
Yeah.
been.
Right
I
there
mean-
at 2. Yep. You forgot a word there, but
T-O-O. He meant to use T-W-O.
right. Yeah.
No,
you,
T-O-O.
you meant the W. You said it 2 O's. It's all right.
Sure, let's
understood
go
what
with
you
that. Let's go with that. Look, come on. You have to give Zegras the props for those highlight reel goals. You had the Michigan. I know you guys are Red Wings, Detroit, Michigan, but Trevor Zegras pulled off the real Michigan against the Montreal Canadiens. That was pretty sick. And he did that flawlessly, almost without hesitation. Just pick up the puck, bam, pot it right behind Montembeault. I replayed that, I'll admit, probably 150 times by now. And every time I love it.
It's great. It's great. It's I think the big thing within our fan base is we don't want the flash, because Seider's a defenseman, right?
Right.
There's not a lot of flash unless he's hitting somebody. There's not a lot of flash that he's able to do in a game-to-game basis. And I think the biggest concern with a lot of fans is that Zegras, he has been great. Like nobody's going to deny that. And he absolutely deserves to be right there in the competition, and not only in the mix of it, has a legitimate case for number 1. And that's absolutely true. I think the fear is just that maybe flash will get him the trophy instead of production. Not that his production's been bad.
Right.
Again, it's been fantastic. But I think, what we don't want is a situation where Seider has pretty clearly been the better player and more productive. But, if they're like this and Zegras is here and Mo is here, that, the highlight reel plays are going to be the reason that he gets it instead of true just who's been the better player. And I think that is the biggest concern, I guess, is the word, for lack of a better term, within our fan base, at least.
And I'll point something else out right now is defenseman winning the Calder is pretty rare.
Yes.
To begin with. So the defenseman has to have a pretty stellar season to win the Calder.
Right.
I know Cale Makar won it 2 years ago. Aaron Ekblad won it in 2015. And way back, Tyler Myers. That's the list since the last lockout. Three out of 15 defensemen have won the Calder, and only one goaltender, Steve Mason.
Right.
That's it. Every other winner has been a forward. And it's usually a forward that has a good flashy season. Kirill Kaprizov had a lot of highlight reel goals last season. He won it. Elias Pettersson, he won it a few years back. And some guy 5 years ago who blew a 3-1 lead Austin Matthews. I had to get that shot in.
Hey, that's more than welcome here, baby.
Yeah.
That is more than
Especially
welcome. You're
after
talking to the right
yesterday.
people for that.
Took my shot there. Austin Matthews won the Calder, later blew a 3-1 lead. But hey, he won the Calder, so hey, Toronto won something.
A trophy. We're not going to talk about which, but a trophy. No, but and that's a good point, and Scotty and I brought that up before. It's like a lot of the times with a lot of these awards, it does go to the writers tend to accentuate the most marketable player. And out of the rookies, at least as of late, like starting off the season, I think Lucas Raymond was the most marketable rookie because he started off way hot. He's cooled off significantly, which is why we're not really bringing Lucas Raymond into this conversation. He's still producing, but not goals, not the goals he was creating. He's getting mostly assists. Like Moritz Seider's power play goal the other night.
He's on a pretty big goal drought, actually.
Yeah, he had
one of the biggest
goal
on the entire team. Like on that because Zadina finally ended his. So
Yeah, that's just we've had to talk about that, and we acknowledge the fact that Zegras has been fantastic, and he's had these 2 highlight reel plays, which is why a big part of why he is number 1 and justifiably so in that conversation. We just know that Moritz Seider has been just as, if not as good. It's hard to compare apple to oranges, forward versus defender.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
Moritz Seider's just been such an incredible 20-year-old, comes in the league, immediately the number 1 defenseman, immediately 25 minutes a night. He bullied. I don't know if you saw much of that Wings Pittsburgh game on Friday, but he bullied Sidney Crosby for 60 straight minutes.
I did.
And it's like, we know that in the end, the Calder Trophy means very little. It means it's all about winning cups, not Calder trophies. But we just want, I guess, with how bad the Red Wings have been in recent years, you've had a taste of that too. The Anaheim Ducks, as well as they've been this season, haven't been good in recent seasons.
Year, right?
Yeah, like
they've been awful. Imagine covering a team that hasn't made the playoffs in a few years. It's been
can't imagine.
Oh yeah, all 4 of our major sports. Yeah.
Can't imagine. Yeah, our city hasn't been to the playoffs in 4 years. Nonetheless, the Red Wings. So yeah.
Well, we don't count the year the Pistons made it.
Anaheim's wasting talent in the baseball side. I'm not going to go there though.
Oh man, we don't got to.
Yeah.
I mean, we can relate.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but going back to the last time that those 2 teams met, remember that game was supposed to take place on the middle of the week. And it got postponed, which there was some talk about why they postponed it. Oh, Zegras is still under COVID protocol. He wasn't going to play. People were pissed off at Coach Dallas Eakins for sitting him out, and then they postponed it till the Sunday, which was fine. But then you had that Sunday afternoon, whatever the heck that was, where Zegras got the goal, and then he had that sick shootout goal. Mm-hmm. I think that was where it began to turn around a little bit in favor of Zegras because he had been out. He hadn't performed all that well before getting COVID. And then once he came back, he put on that performance against the Red Wings. And I was like, oh, that's going to wake some people up to Zegras winning the Calder.
Yeah, and it's just what you said. In the end, it's probably going to go to a forward. And we can't, Scotty and I can't deny, like, he is definitely, a top candidate.
Absolutely.
Obviously, our loyalties lie with Moritz Seider, but just the chances of a defenseman winning it when there's a forward like Zegras playing, and there's still another half season left to play. So Scotty says this all the time, but 40 games from now, who knows who we're talking about? We could be talking about Dawson Mercer or Tanner Generat from the Nashville Predators as the Calder favorite. But as Dawson of right now, yeah, right. We don't want to say that name. But
sorry, Trey.
Yeah, Trey, the lovable troll. It's just we know how good he has been, but because he's not a defenseman, he's not as marketable, and so I feel like he hasn't been getting the national media attention. But Trevor Zegras does also justifiably get the national media attention because of what he has done. So it's like a little bit of a persecution complex, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it's also like hockey is notably horrible at marketing players, and like they find, you know what I mean, like horrible. And
like, who's Connor McDavid? Nobody knows, outside of NHL hockey fans,
Right, and they, they got this young star. He's a rookie that has arguably the two biggest highlight plays on the entire season. Yep. Both go to a rookie. You know what I mean? Like that's for a sport that is dying for help in the marketing department to have a rookie come along and do that. It's going to be a situation where people that are maybe not as like deep into hockey and are, more casual are going to be like, whoa, like how is Zegras not at the top, right? Because again, most Seider defenseman kind of a thing, and that's not to say, again, this is no disrespect to Zegras at all. It's not to say that people that follow it intently can't put him right in that mix at the top as well, because again, he deserves it. But it's just, again, with a sport that struggles so mightily with marketing, they finally have a marketable player. And it's going to be hard to perform for Seider to perform so well to take that away from him.
Right, and there's a great confluence right now between Zegras really setting the stage and this new media deal that the NHL has with TNT and ESPN. You know how much ESPN is marketing Trevor Zegras right now?
No, it's
pulling
insane.
Off the Flying Z on an ESPN game, by the way.
It is both. So I love it to see it. I just is like, because it goes against the guy I'm supporting. I'm like, no, but I'm also like, yes. It's such a conflict of interest in my heart about like what's going on. Regarding the game itself that's going to be played, the Red Wings coming off a win on Friday, then a blowing the lead against Toronto on Saturday. What are your thoughts regarding how the Ducks have played recently and how you feel coming into this game facing the Detroit Red Wings at Little Caesars Arena?
Okay, so I'm happy that they've got 7 out of 8 points so far on this road trip. I said on my podcast, 5 would be if 6 would be fine. I'd be happy with 7 points. They have 7 points out of 8 on this road trip. And a shout out to a couple people saying they're going to get 9 out of 10. It could happen. I didn't expect it. So in one sense, they are winning games. I'm happy about that. The way they're doing it is not on offense. I'll give you guys a fun little stat here for all the Red Wings fans to ponder. In the last 4 games on this road trip, shot attempts have not been in favor of the Ducks. They've been out shot attempted 267 to 157.
Oh, wow.
They've been out attempted by 110. So the question is, what's going on? It's the goaltending. It's the John Gibson appreciation hour.
John Gibson's unreal.
We have to appreciate how good Gibby's been in the last few games since coming back. And I had to kind of look this up. Last 5 games since coming back from COVID, he's 3-1-1 with a .949 save percentage, a goals against of 1.8.
It's not
Those
bad.
Are pretty good numbers, right?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, and we're going through a weird funk right now where for the first time this season, Alex Nedeljkovic hasn't been playing top tier. Like he's been fantastic all season, but the last few games he's played, he's had a sub 900 save percentage, and a lot of that's not his fault, and we'll always acknowledge that. He's got, besides Moritz Seider, the defense in front of him is horrid, and that's like the biggest flaw of the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, so he's facing
the Ducks. The Ducks might have to take advantage of that because the Ducks do boast one of the best power play units in the entire league.
Yeah, that's bad for us.
When you get Getzey and Terry and Zegras together, power play magic can happen.
Yeah, the Red Wings have one of the worst power plays in the league. So not great matchup.
Not a great penalty kill either. Yeah.
How does it feel? Hey, the Ducks were last. They were historically last place last season.
Well, and the Red Wings were second to last season, and this year they're second to last again. And we changed power play coaches too. So weird how that works. The other thing too is, I'm losing my train of thought. Scotty, save me.
Well, I mean,
I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the power play and all that, and the defense is something that is definitely going to have to be taken advantage of on your side. I mean, even the line with Mo Seider, he's paired with Danny DeKeyser, who has been one of like
an anchor.
Love the dude to
not
death.
In a good way.
Right. Love the dude to death. Straight up been one of the worst players in the NHL this year. So like,
yeah,
even that line, you have the ability to take advantage of it, even when Seider's on the ice. On the offensive side for the Wings, our top 6 has been unbelievably productive. We moved Bertuzzi down to the second line, even though he's been arguably our most productive forward this year. Like putting up numbers in line with Larkin, who's averaging more than a point a game. So like, and we moved him down to the second line. But it turns out that was significantly helped our offense because we went from one line being just insane and the other 3 being a little weaker to now 2 really, really solid lines at the top that have been very productive. So our shots have been up. We went through a little bit of a dip there where the shots were low, and then we made that switch. Now the shots are getting better. I think I'm saying this game has potential to be pretty high scoring, which is fun. But also if Gibson's in net, maybe not.
If Gibson's in net, no. He's going to lock the door again.
I don't know who the last couple of games who's been in there.
It's been the Gibby show.
Okay.
It was Gibson.
The Ned show here.
Yeah. I mean, I love Ned, but Gibby has been fantastic so far this season, especially on this road trip.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to shut up all the doubters. There were some doubters saying, Gibby's an all-star? Like, yeah, I'm an all-star. And they're going, but you're mediocre. You're good at best. And he shut them up the last few games. So maybe there's that little bit of chip saying,
well, it's okay. We got to leap back up to goaltender Calvin Pickard on our team. So we're looking strong.
Pickard, AHL. That guy.
Yeah, he got called up because Grice was in COVID protocol, started against the Penguins and got the win in the shootout.
He did.
What the hell is happening? No, but in all reality,
40 saves or something ridiculous.
But all reality, it's going to be Alexander Nedeljkovic. And although he's been rough lately, he's been great all season long. So I think, but just because, and we Scotty and I were all like dread and fear going into this past weekend. The Red Wings beat the Pittsburgh Penguins in a shootout. They inevitably blew a lead against Toronto Maple Leafs, but played them hard for the first 2.5 periods before they finally crumbled in the last 5. This is the
can I point out the Ducks did the opposite. They were trailing against Toronto and came back and got a point against the Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
I'd much rather that.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
True.
I'd significantly rather that.
But this is where my point's going: is the Red Wings have shown a propensity all season to play up to their opponents, and they face hard opponents and they beat them all season. Listeners to our shows are probably rolling their eyes at me bringing this up again, but they lose to bad teams, and it's embarrassing. They lost to Arizona. They lost to Montreal twice. They actually season sweep Buffalo, but that doesn't support my point. They play down to bad teams, but they beat really, really good teams. They've beaten Vegas.
Even the Buffalo wins were to overtime.
Yeah, those were not great wins. I mean, so they beat great teams, but they lose to bad teams. So playing a team this season, and I'll give you credit here, Jason, the Anaheim Ducks are pretty great this season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Even though on the betting sites, lineup to lineup, it looks like it should be the Anaheim Ducks game, I will not count the Detroit Red Wings out because they can win tough battles because this team grinds and they battle it out and they can surprise you. And Dylan Larkin is a freaking all-star.
And the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things too, is the Detroit Red Wings are a completely different team on home versus the road.
Oh yeah,
we are horrid on the road, like horrid on the road. And then no matter who you are or how good you are, if you come into LCA, it's going to be a tight game. So very, very different home and road splits and everything. So we have that going.
I'll take a point. I'll take a point against Detroit on the road. That's fine.
Oh, I mean, to end that would be the end of your road trip, right? I mean, that would be a massive success of a road stint.
8 or 9 points out of 10 on a road trip, no matter the opponents, is always welcome.
Absolutely,
and could be first place at the end of Monday night.
So
absolutely.
I got one final question here before we wrap up this crossover, and it's if your team's going to win, what do you feel is going to be the X factor for the Anaheim Ducks that's going to get them the win?
I can't believe it took us 17 minutes to not mention Troy Terry, or as the Locked On Los Angeles Kings host likes to say, Troy Vetchkin. Just trying to get me in trouble. Although now I'm kind of coming around to the Troy Vetchkin moniker because Terry's scoring like him, 25 goals this season. He's been the X factor on a number of games with that wicked wrist shot and just weaving in and out of defense. It's got to be Troy Terry being the X factor along with John Gibson, who I suspect will probably start. I think so.
Scotty, what do you think is going to be the Red Wings X factor in this game? If they're going to win this game, what do you think's got to happen?
Alexander Nedeljkovic. I think that's the easy one, right? Because like you brought up, he's been so phenomenal all season, and then the last week, randomly he's kind of nosedived in production. And again, not that the
Yeah, it's
defense
not
in
100%
front of
his
him
fault.
is doing him very many favors, right? But at the end of the day, it's counted on his stats, and I think that's the biggest one. I have full faith in the top six. I know what the defense is. I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, the defense needs to be great, because I'm not going to set myself up for disappointment like that. I think the easiest and most applicable person would be Ned.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be the same as what I said going into the weekend, Scotty. It's got to be depth scoring. We know the top two lines are going to produce, and I have faith that Ned's going to be Ned. I continue to have faith that Ned's going to be fine. I said it going into the weekend. If Zadina or Veleno can score, they're going to win a hockey game. Zadina scored against Pittsburgh. They won. It comes down to, your top six is going to score, but you need that secondary scoring, and they're not getting it. If they can get secondary scoring, I think the Red Wings got a real shot in this game.
That could be.
What are you chuckling about over there, Jason?
Well, I have a prediction. I think it's going to be 3-2 in overtime in favor of the Ducks.
Of course. Respect it.
Because these two teams play each other tough. And you mentioned those secondary scorers. That's the one area that I think the Ducks need to be careful about. So I think you are pretty accurate in your assessment. That's what I think could happen.
Keep an eye out. And now he's not a depth piece anymore. He slid up to the first line. But you watch out for Vladislav Nemesnikov.
Yeah.
He might just be my favorite Red Wing this season. Because he
loves the Detroit Red Wings.
Good.
Like Vlad loves the Detroit Red Wings. After he scores, like he does, like the jersey like
tug.
He's a fan favorite just because he loves the organization as much as all the fans do. It's pretty fun.
He's also he's a guy you can put in anywhere in the lineup. We got to wrap it up here, so I won't go into too much. But he's averaging half a point per game. He's scoring over almost every other game, either assist or a goal. He's on the top line now that Bertuzzi's been slid down, and he's shown the capability of just fitting right in. He's been so good, and he's really just such a good personality. It's just, I love everything Vlad Nemesnikov, and I want to see him in a winged wheel for a long time to come.
Yeah, I'll give one more X factor.
Go ahead.
Adam Henrique is now back, and he's back in that top six role. So watch out for Adam Henrique because he hasn't been doing too much yet. I think he could bust out on this game as well, and at least get a point.
He's gonna bust out.
He's not a bust. Henrique has had a good season.
Guys, any final thoughts?
4-2 Wings in regulation.
9 God,
baby.
Are you a Rams fan, Jason?
I'll admit this right now. I'm not really much of a football fan anymore because the Rams and the Raiders both left SoCal at the same time. They broke my heart as a kid. Absolutely did. So I'm not really having much rooting interest in the Super Bowl for what it's worth.
As a Lions fan, I'm currently, as I'm wearing my Lions hat, I'm living vicariously through Matthew Stafford right now.
The whole city is Rams fans for the moment. Yeah,
he has shut up all the haters. His first season away from Detroit, he goes to the freaking Super Bowl.
How about that?
Stafford haters have no leg anymore. No leg to stand on.
9 God.
Anyways, want to thank you guys for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. They are your go-to one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets. Go check them out because the link is still removed, so I don't know how that ends.
Third listen, Locked On Ducks.
Third listen, Locked On Ducks. Fourth listen, Locked On Tigers. Get all of us in there. We're going. We'll be back with a game recap tomorrow. Same time, same place. To your team every day.
Every day.
Quack, quack.